Okay, so I've got my scene saved, or I'm about to save it. So I'll just save it as my tutorial skin scene. Okay, not to be confused with the JPEG. Obviously, now I'm saving a scene, and I'm going to go to my recent, and I'm going to open up my model. Okay, so here's what I have. I want to texture it, and what I'm going to do is I'll start with, say, this face here. So it's pretty simple. I'm going to select the various polygons that I want to texture. So, okay, all right, here's what I want. I'll detach them, and I'm going to give them a name that I'll recognize when I merge into their scene. So I'm going to just call this wall. There we go. And I have fully detached it from the rest of the scene. It's important that before you start texturing, your model is complete and that you've worked out all your smoothing groups and you've welded your verts and you've run an STL check to make sure you know that your model has no errors, so that when you pull it apart to texture it, and then in the end when you weld it all back together, that it ends up looking the way it's supposed to. So I've got my part here, my piece, and you can see that it's been separated. And what I'll do is I'll just save my scene again with that part separate, and I'm going to go back to my texture. So I'm going to merge that part back in. So I just select that file, and then you see it's there, wall. Now I can't see it because obviously the orientation was different. So if I just go select my vertices, vertexes, I highlight them. I'm going to turn on angle snap, and I'm just going to rotate it so that, oh, I've got it backwards. I'm going to rotate it so that the facing side that I want to texture is flat and facing up. Now, if I go into perspective mode, you'll see there it is. Now, not everything you're going to want to texture is going to be flat all the time, right? So, for example, you might have, imagine if I had this piece like this, right? Or, these parts up higher, right? So I have that. Well, it's important that you don't leave it that way. What you do is you can use a 2 by 2 by 2 modifier. I've got that hotkeyed, but if you don't, it's up here in the modifier list. Select those control points, go to a front view, and just move it to a same level. And I like to keep all these pieces I hack up at -5 on the z-axis. But it's up to you. So you flatten it out, collapse that modifier, and you'll see I got my flat object again. So, for example, like if you're texturing the top of a saucer section, which is often convex, you would flatten that out. Then you've got this nice surface to work with, and it's at -5. Now, when you're making a texture, be efficient about it. Try to put as much on one texture map as you can. Early on when I was texturing things, I would, put things over like 4 maps or something. So I'd have 4 20 by 2048 by 2048 maps, whereas now, I do it in half as much space. And so you want to try to give some consideration to people's setups. So I'm going to move it down into this corner, and because it's within my pink box here, I know that it'll render from the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make this a gray color or something to that effect. And let's say that I'm going to change my background color to just be white. There we go. Now, I'm not going to add any detail yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my camera, and I'm going to render my scene, my flat scene. And there it is. It's now part of the texture. Darwin's having a good time playing Mario. Hey, you! Shush! So there it is. There's my beginnings of my texture. So I'm just going to close that. I'll save the file. Now I'm going to go back to my tutorial. All right, in the next video, I'm going to take that texture, I'm going to map it onto this face, and then we'll start adding some detail.